In this video, I'm going to go over exactly how I came up with my startup and how you can come up with yours. Let's roll. You are the creator of everything around you. Me coming up with SoHeart was a long, winding path. You're not always going to get it right on the first shot. Most likely, you're going to fail 2 or 3 times before you create that startup, that business that's going to be exactly what you need and it's going to be exactly what other people need. Sometimes you have to stumble before you can get that correct. I had created a software consulting company that was going to build apps and websites for small to medium-sized companies. Sounds like something that a lot of people need, right? Sounds like something I have the skills in. I had been a software developer for 5 years at that point, had worked for startups, medium-sized companies. I had done it all. Done it all might be a little bit arrogant, but I'm gonna keep that in there. The need for software was not going away anytime soon. So I decided to create a software consulting company. The issue with that is I didn't know how to turn the people in the world who needed software into my customers. What I would say that I learned there is the importance of deal flow. I was down on my luck trying to figure out, okay, exactly what am I going to do because this business is struggling. It's not going where I want it to go. And I knew that I had created my software consulting company so that I could one day have enough money to be able to go into my own product and create my own products full-time for myself. What I realized was that I needed to gain some attention before people would even recognize me as a person who they could get work done from. So I decided, hey, it's time for me to get into the product business right now. What exact problems are there out there? Every business, every successful business starts from a problem. And so I said, what problems are out there? What problem areas? And out of those, which would I be interested in working in? I worked in a ton of different industries. I realized working in these industries that even though I could put my time, my energy, my effort into different industries, there were only a few that made me curious, and there were only a few that made me want to actually produce. I had just got done working for a medical health startup. They were building software that would be a part of the process of helping make someone healthier. And I said, oh wow, even though I'm about to leave this company, I'd love to work on something that could impact someone's life in the future. Med tech was an area that I was curious about and saw value in me putting my time into. Also, there was fintech that was blowing up at the time, financial technology. So I'm like, that would be interesting. So we've got med tech on the board, we've got fintech on the board. And then there's other things that were popping up like machine learning, artificial intelligence, things to that nature. I decided that artificial intelligence and machine learning, those are great and awesome. And I probably could create a startup in that, but those are very complex. I don't believe that I was going to be able to create something quick enough in those areas, in those industries. And so I decided, let me do something that could start small and then maybe one day build up into that machine learning or that AI, or maybe that's just a venture for another time once I've got more funding and can pay a bunch of experienced engineers to work on the problem for me. So I just had medtech and fintech that I was thinking about. And so I looked at it and I said, medtech makes me want to work the most. Helping someone's life improve is what I want to work on the most, but I'm not a doctor. It's not exactly possible for me to solve cancer. I really can't do that. It would make more sense for me to move into the financial area because it's just numbers, and I'm an engineer. I work with numbers all the time. Working on those numbers seemed like a great route to go, and financial technology was blowing up at the time. At this point, I was a little bit split in between the two. What I did next is what I would recommend that any of you do as you're figuring out what your startup is going to be. What I said was, okay, what are the problems? What problems are out there that I want to solve? I thought through it, and I'm like, okay, well, what are America's largest problems? And a lot of those problems are around health, cancer, addiction, weight, diabetes. These things are out there. There's also problems like so many people in America not being free financially, but us being the richest country in the world. Which problems excite me the most? Which problems make me want to work the most? And which problems am I connected to the most? I didn't grow up with a solid financial background. I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth, so I was a bit connected to that financial issue, but I'm actually more connected to addiction because I have multiple family members who have struggled with addiction. And very close to home, I have a brother who is struggling with addiction currently. And so I said, if I solved the financial problem for some people, or I solved the addiction problem for some people, which one would make me feel better? Which one, when I'm on my deathbed, would I say, that Lamar, he's a good one. I spent my time well in this world, and addiction was that for me. I decided that even though I could get into the financial realm and there are some problems that I could solve, those problems would not put a bigger smile on my face on my deathbed than solving the addiction problem. If I could help my brother in some way to get over his addiction or help someone else who's struggling, I would be able to rest easy, even if I made a quarter less the money, half the money. I guarantee you I would feel better as I'm leaving. And so addiction recovery was it. That is exactly how I decided on what problem I was going to solve. The next step was figuring out a solution. The addiction recovery problem is huge, and there are multiple different downfalls in the current ecosystem for supporting someone who's in addiction recovery. So I had to decide what angle I was going to take. What I decided was that a piece of software that helped the family create a sense of security, a piece of software that took a family from sad and confused and not knowing where to go and what to do to informed and able to take part in the recovery process, would be a solution that would help many people. There is no real way to know the best solution to a problem. So what I did next, now that I had a problem and I had a potential idea for a solution, now that I had a problem and a potential idea for a solution, I went around to different Narcotics Anonymous groups and just sat in and I just listened. I listened and I was searching for what their largest problem was. That way I could make sure that the problem I was trying to solve was worthwhile and that other people had it. And I could start to test, would my potential solution help these people? Would my potential solution solve this problem? And as I was going, everywhere I went, I saw people get up and they would talk about how they lost their support. They lost connection to their sponsor. Their relationship with their sponsor started to degrade, or their sponsor left and went somewhere else or got tired of being a sponsor. And so I decided that there is a lack of support in the system, and that lack of support is increasing the amount of recurrences. And so SoHeart started with the solution of getting people support. And even though I started this from the perspective of, oh, there's a family that needs direction, needs to know what to do next, I wanted to get people support because I found tons of people have this issue of getting and keeping support. So I came up with an MVP for SoHeart, which would be essentially a way of taking people who didn't have anyone to walk through their recovery with, anyone who didn't have support currently, and it would match them with other people that were looking for support. This match would be the beginning of the technology. Then I created an MVP, and SoHeart is what it is today. And in your situation, it's going to be somewhat similar. You're going to find problem areas, and then you're going to break down into specific problems. When you think through those problems, you're going to also think of potential solutions. And then you're going to hopefully go and get more information. Go and check whether or not your proposed problem and your proposed solution, make sure those are on track with the actual market. Do people actually have the problem that you want to solve? Is the solution that you chose actually able to solve their problems? I honed in on the idea for SoHeart. We got going, and now I'm actually testing my MVP against what I thought. And I do believe from the data that I have collected that we are on track. But now that I've got an MVP that gets people some support, I'm now able to start building out that support network. Within your own company, you're gonna need to do the same. Just to recap, first thing I did was I figured out what problem sets made me curious, and was I able to actually affect in some way? What problems were out there? And then came up with a specific solution to the problem that I wanted to address. Find a problem, find a solution, and then immediately take in money. Take in your first clients, customers, and get money flowing. Start the ball rolling, and then you can start to improve. How well am I actually thinking through the problem? How well am I actually creating a solution? How well am I finding my customers? All of these things, they come as add-ons. They're growths to the business. But the core of the business is a problem and a solution. And whether or not you can actually close that gap, that's exactly how you can come up with your next business, with your startup idea. And if you have any more questions on startups or startup ideas, I'd love for you to drop them in the comments below. If you like the video, give me a like, give me a subscribe, and I'm gonna catch you next time. Love you. Bye.